There appears to be no end in sight to the crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party. With 94 days to the conduct of the 2023 presidential election, efforts to reconcile Rivers State Governor Nyesome Wike and the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, have been unsuccessful so far. Rather, the crisis keeps taking a new dimension and the cracks getting wider. The latest in this unfolding drama is that Governor Wike, his allies, and other aggrieved leaders of the party have formed a new body called the Integrity Group. Announcing the formation of the group to newsmen, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde said that the Integrity Group is the face behind the struggle within the PDP, adding that the body will soon take a position on the crisis rocking their party, as well as take a stand on the forthcoming presidential poll. So joining us in the studio is a lawyer and a member of the People's Democratic Party, Fred Nzeako. It's nice to have you join us today.
Good to be with you, Mike.
Great.
Good morning.
Right. Now, the crisis in the People's Democratic Party has been seen as a, well, family affair, a disagreement that can be resolved like between family members and all of that. If I recall that sometime you were here and you alluded to the same thing, that of course one day or 1 hour in politics, anything can be resolved as the case may be. However, day after day, week after week, we keep seeing the drama that creates a picture of irreconcilable difference between Governor Wike, the G5, and now they have the Integrity Group. What do you think is going on that can't be resolved so far?
Well, I think it's a mere change of nomenclature. Okay. From G5 to Integrity Group. Something is constant, and that constant thing is PDP. But in all of this, PDP is still in the mouths, in the minds, in the speeches, in the actions and attitudes of the man, whether the G5 or Integrity. So now we talk about the Integrity Group. As a matter of fact, political parties are made up of groups. The APC has a NPDP then, the ACN then, it has a CPC then, it had a ABGA then, and there are groups inside the APC, and up to today, those groups are still alive, you know, forming clusters, small clusters of political actions within the bigger party. So I see this as a cluster within the PDP. Of course, you know, PDP then had its own PDM, PDM, Democratic movement, and then some other small clusters that made up the PDP. And those clusters are still alive, even if they have been subsumed under the bigger party. And virtually all big political parties have similar internal structural clusters. And because birds of the same feather, they tend to flock together. But the most important thing is that the big masquerade, which is the big political party, is still dancing in the field.
No,
garnering support.
Yeah, but however, the case of the whether it's the G5 and Integrity Group, yes, as seen as groups, we may not necessarily liken it to the case of the NPDP, ABGA, and all of that. They had a love affair at that time that gave birth to the APC as a party. But this is not a love affair.
It's love on fire.
This is you know, you said in your prologue that it is a family thing. The family is still there. Yes, there are family misunderstandings. I mean, there are misunderstandings within the family. And the solution to such misunderstandings are ongoing. And in some cases, misunderstandings are not even as big as outsiders will perceive them to be. I say this because I said earlier that the name PDP is still there. When they're talking PDP, the more you are even talking about them, the more you are etching the name PDP in the minds and psyche of the electorates. So somehow, when you leave your own party, for those who are politicians, and they are talking about PDP and trying to find specks in the eyes of PDP and leaving the log of woods in their own eyes, they are indirectly, subterraneanly, sometimes unconsciously, promoting, talking about PDP. And even those who did not initially understand the party will begin to ask questions, and they will begin to understand the party. And those who really understood the party and thought, oh, what are they coming back to do, will now begin to ask questions, and they will begin to get answers.
Well,
this is a party that is coming back to take over from the party that is killing the country and make the country better. So I do not think there is anything very dangerous happening in PDP. Okay. Yes, there are misunderstandings, and the misunderstandings are being resolved.
Okay,
and they said, you're rounding up, they said that they had not made a final statement. That is very key, and that is very important. And you cannot sit here and predict what that final statement will be. I tell you here that the final statement will be positive.
Okay. All right. Now, there's need to make some corrections so that our viewers will get it. The word G5 and integrity group, they're not necessarily the same thing. All G5 is in the integrity group. Not all in the integrity group are G5. And maybe that's why they changed the name from G5 to integrity group. Because the integrity group comprises more people than G5. G5 are just 5 people, the governors of Rivers, Nyesome Wike of Benue, who is supposed to be chairman. I don't know whether he's chairman of the integrity group or was chairman of the G5. That is most of them, Samuel Otom. You have Ekpeazu, Dr.
We know them, the 5
governors. Yeah, you have to say it.
Yes, but who are now the experts?
Now the integrity group.
Who are now the experts?
Now the integrity. Those are these people form the core. The integrity group. You have Mimiko, you have Fayoshe, you have Jang, you have Bode George,
Duke.
You have Donald Duke, you have Akbaja. You have all of these people. They have now expanded it to be a big. Now, two. When you
now your correction needs to be corrected. I will correct that.
No. That's very good. There could be more people. But this governors form the core.
Needs to be corrected.
They form the core of the technique. You can't correct it unless you are trying to change the narrative. Now the question is, how do you reconcile a party in which the people say we have conditions? One, there has to be fairness. Ayu must step down because there's an agreement that you cannot have both the presidential candidate and the party chairman from the same region or region. Two, Wike made a statement during the campaign on Saturday in Port Harcourt. He said, I will never support anybody that says an Igbo man should not be voted for or a Yoruba man should not be voted for. Are we going to have an apology first from Atiku for making those statements? He has not apologized for saying those things. Two, are we going to see a situation where Ayu will step down?
Good. If you don't know, let me remind you what led to this issue. What led to this issue was the fallout of the presidential party primaries of PDP. What led to this issue was when the party result was announced and Atiku won. Before then, there was no G5. There was no integrity group. Thereafter, Wike, who contested and lost, started forming grouping that was called G5. We all see this as politics, which is normal. But Wike has not left PDP, and you know it. And he has said that he will not leave PDP. What will he be telling people when he goes on campaign? Vote for PDP or don't vote for PDP? That is one. What will Autumn, who is running for senatorial seat in his own state, when he leaves office, he hopes to become a senator when he leaves office, what will he be telling people in Benue State North? Vote for PDP or don't vote for PDP? What will Makinde, who is going for second tenure, tell people in Oyo State? What will Ibazu, who I learned also want to go to Senate, and Ugwani, who also want to go to Senate, what will they be telling the people? That is why I tell you that these are all politics. And the more you even talk about it, the more you are propagating PDP. You open the newspapers, you tune in your radio, you tune in your television, you're seeing PDP, you're seeing the umbrella all over the place. Some people will want to make political capital out of it, negative capital out of it, but it is not working. Because if they had left PDP, PDP would have been very much worried. They are in PDP.
But
they are talking about PDP. They are running an election in PDP. Wike has a candidate, Fubara, who he wants, and he will dedicate all his energies to ensure that he wins. Wait a minute.
To address one issue.
In PDP. So that's why I say that in all of this, that name PDP is making waves. And by the time you tell the people, vote PDP, you come back and tell the people, vote PDP here, vote PDP here, don't vote PDP here. The people ask you, who do we vote there? And you have no answer. People will say, oh, our guy is making a mistake. We are voting PDP all the way. And that is what is going to happen. Meanwhile, the presidential and national assembly election, by the timetable of INEC, comes before the governorship election. On the ballot that same day, Oton will be telling his people, pick your ticket for presidential, pick your ticket for national assembly. Please vote for me for Senate. Will you tell the people, don't vote for Atiku in presidency? We have run elections and we know how these things happen. When the people collect their ballot papers and their mind is focused on PDP because they want to vote for Samuel Otom, for example, or they want to vote for Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, for example, they are going to the ballot box to vote for PDP. And they are also voting for Atiku Abubakar.
All right.
But
so don't even jump up and down thinking that a lot is happening negatively. It is not. PDP is winning.
You act as though...
It is only the elites and the detractors who want to see PDP fail that will think that PDP is failing. PDP is not failing.
Okay. He wants you to answer his...
You act as though we have not seen this before. That the people will vote a particular position in one party and particular position in another party.
Where have we seen it manifestly, if not for Lagos State?
We have seen it here in Lagos.
Are we talking about only Lagos?
No, we are saying
are we talking about Lagos?
Listen to me now, listen to me.
Yes.
It has happened before.
I know you've seen it in Lagos.
So this man has said it.
Yes.
It has happened in Lagos.
Yes.
So it can happen elsewhere. Where people will vote one way in one political party, and vote another way another position.
The dynamics were different.
Why are they different?
I will tell you how the dynamics were different. Because when it happened in Lagos, the election timetable was not as it is today. And that was in governorship election of Femi Abolajobi and between that Salumi and Abolajobi and Michael Otedola. And
that's not the only instance.
No, that was major instance. Which other
instance?
Which other instance are we talking about?
In Lagos,
which other instance are we talking about?
During the Jonathan time,
2011.
They voted Fashola in, and Lagos voted Jonathan
instead of. Instead of
Ribadu.
Ribadu. Lagos voted Jonathan.
Jonathan for Ribadu. Yes.
And what was the result at the end of the day?
Jonathan won. So then I'm saying that
you're talking about. People
knew where they were asked to vote.
When you sit, and the timetable was different. When you sit in Lagos, when you sit in Lagos, you extrapolate Nigeria, you will get it all wrong.
It happens even in local elections.
It does not.
But it also happens in Anambra State.
Yes.
Where Abga
I got you. Thank you very much.
Abga will always vote what the national is, and then
I'm talking about the timetable. The national election comes 2 weeks before the state governorship election. And after the government of Peter Obi, Abga, the timetable of Anambra did not follow the timetable of Nigeria. You remember?
Yes, of course.
So next year, no governorship election is going to take place in Anambra State.
Is
So
it
that
the-
is
is
why.
it the
So
time-
that is why these things. You have to bring these things in context with the realities on ground. If you go to Anambra, for example, at presidential election, usually ABGA does not have a strong candidate. And PDP is the party in power in Anambra State. I mean, is the party in the minds of the people in Anambra. Now, the House of Reps, the Senate, mainly are won by PDP. But then you now go to Assembly, because the timetable is different. 2 weeks after the results have come out, the governor will now dedicate all his energies in the Assembly. And because ABGA is in power in Anambra, and ABGA is at the grassroots, and for one untoward action or the other that usually takes place, which I'm not here to talk about, then ABGA will now win. It happens all over the place. But I'm telling you that in this instance, where the PDP, the people who are still members of PDP, they are talking PDP, and they are saying, this man must resign, this man must resign. The issues surrounding whether Ayu will resign or not, we have elaborately discussed this. And if you want to look at it from the, even when you talk about justice, you will see that it is a shifting. You know, when we had, if you did agriculture in primary school, we had what we call shifting cultivation. This one becomes a shifting demand.
So
Becomes a shifting demand.
So wait,
and that is why if Atiku resigns by the constitution of PDP, the next
Ayu,
if Ayu resigns, the next person that will take over by constitution of PDP is the deputy national chairman from the north. And the man is from Yobe State. If you now say, no, the chairmanship position must come to the south, that means you have to go for a convention. How can a party go for convention when they are preparing for election?
what does that tell you? It shows
All
that
right.
there's no reconciliation.
So it shows that even the people who are kicking that Ayu should resign know themselves that it is not a fair demand. And the members of the party know that such demand should not take place now. And that's why we are continuously reconciling. Reconciling, and reconciliation will eventually take deep root.
Yeah, but
at the end
if
of
you
the day.
listen to Wike, if you listen to Wike's dissatisfaction, he said that when Atiku, at the end of the primary election, Atiku went to see Wike, and one of the first statements he said was that Ayu needed to go. And we assume that Atiku, in being an
Atiku
old
went to
horse,
see Wike?
yes, he said so. That the first statement he made was that Ayu
said
needed
they
to go.
agreed.
In fact, it was Atiku who even brought that up. If you listen to Wike very well, and Wike said that why should Ayu leave? So the point there is that in the mind of at least somebody like Atiku,
Mike, I don't want to run away with such statement because I have not had.
I am quoting. I'm
It's a
quoting.
public sphere. It's a public sphere.
I mean,
If you miss it,
I'm not doubting whether it is in public space or not. But I have not had the response of Atiku.
he has not responded.
He has not responded.
He has not said much about
so
the
if he
crisis.
has not responded to that, don't you know that it could have been one-sided statement? But my training is always good to hear the other party.
The other party doesn't want to say.
It's
What
only when you
what
hear
they
the other
say.
party that you can now have a balanced opinion. So I cannot run away with it and say, oh, Wike has said so, and
Yeah.
it is gospel
Wike
truth.
said,
we
Wike
need
said,
to say something that because it seems like you wanted to dodge that issue and brought Atiku. When you're talking about timetable, it is not the timetable that is important. It is the mind of the electorate. It is what you campaign to the people that they will follow. It has nothing to do with whether it is a timetable.
Oh, Sam.
It is the mind.
Sam,
it is the mind,
Sam.
not the time.
I agree
That
with-
is important.
I agree-
Mind has power
I agree,
over time.
I agree with you
Uh-huh.
absolutely that it's the mind. And that is
Yes.
why the mind of Nigerians today is completely 100% against APC because of the problems we are having today. This is a party that they met 40 million people poor in 2015 and promised to remove them out of poverty.
Well,
and today, 133 million people are now terribly poor in the same country after 7 years.
We are discussing.
So the mind of the people, I'm telling you, the mind of the people is 100% against APC. And they will show it on the day of ballot. Massively.
We are going to discuss.
Because the people are very, very poor, suffering, and without hope. So if you think that the mind of the people, the people's mind is against the umbrella, no. It is that broom that has become a nightmare to Nigerians.
We are going to discuss later this morning an issue about money, hundreds of billions, that the federal government has distributed to PDP states. The PDP states are now struggling to say how did we
were they distributed only to PDP states?
Not only all over the country,
states?
but Niger Delta is
I'm
the
coming
focus.
now.
Hold on.
Niger
Niger Delta is the focus. I know Niger Delta is 100% PDP.
When
we are oil producing state.
I hope
PDP.
you will not be discussing it.
You people should have to discuss that.
I hope you will not be discussing it with a jaundiced mind. If you keep your mind open and you hear the other side, and they will tell you what they have done with the money that they have received. But if you have a preconceived jaundiced mind, you will want to close your eyes to any explanation they give with respect to what they do.
We'll leave it to the people to decide.
All right. Let me ask you, Fred. The point there is the integrity group have said that they expect so much from the presidential candidate. And some of their early complaints were that Atiku has not come to see these people, sit down with them, and talk with them as a way of moving the political party forward. We recall that the other presidential candidates that emerged after primary elections, they visited every other person who contested with them and so on. Rather, we had the situation where Atiku sent people to them, especially Wike and Otom and the others. What do you think Atiku would have or could have done differently at this time?
Every man has his style. And everywhere you hear Waziri Atiku Abubakar speak, he speaks about peace and unity. He feels so deeply sad about what has become of Nigeria. And he feels this is the time to pull Nigeria out of the doldrums. And that is why he talks about government of national unity, so that he will have the opportunity to bring in the very best hands, irrespective of political affiliation, to pull Nigeria out of the woods. He talks about restructuring, which we have identified as the long-term major factor that will reshape this country and make sure that the country is placed on the paradigm of growth and development. And he talks about unity and security. In all of this, he has made conscious efforts to ensure that we move as one, because he feels that a united house achieves much more than a divided house. And the way Nigeria is now on the precipice, the smallest push will throw the country into the cesspit. Such a man who preaches peace, unity, progress, and development has reached out to virtually everybody who he feels should be reached out to. Mike, you can never be here and be there all at the same time. If I want to reach out to you, and eventually you are far, and I tell Sam to help me reach out to you, that I'm on my way to reaching out to you, is that not part of reconciliation? This is a party thing. I'm coming, Sam. This is a party thing. The owners of the party, owners in quote, because the party, this is people's party. But the leaders, let me use the word leaders of the party, the board of trustees, the national working committee, the elders, they are bigger collectively than one man. They are bigger. The party itself, represented by these leaders, is bigger than one man. They are all
You have not answered one
collectively
question.
bigger than
You have not answered
Atiku.
one
You need to
question. Please,
understand.
we
You need to understand my answers.
No, wait.
They are bigger than one man. So if all these, have moved to reconcile,
we need to strike
the
some
reconciliation
questions.
is ongoing.
All right.
We need to
So I
strike
can
some
tell you,
questions.
we
need to
have
strike some
1
questions.
minute. We have 1 minute.
It looks like you like to talk long,
all
so
will
I
be
can
well.
run away from questions. I'm going to ask you.
We have just
Now,
1 minute.
The question you need to answer is that you said that the party cannot change all those positions, without doing a convention and doing all of that. Does that not tell you? Does that not tell you that there's no solution? Because these people in the integrity group know this, and they are still insisting on doing that. Does that not mean that it's a recipe for chaos, and eventually they're going to cut off?
Sir, what will you do when you wake up tomorrow
and there is an announcement that this has all been resolved.
That is your fancy.
No,
that's your fantasy.
What will you do?
That is your fantasy.
All right.
It's not, what I will do is it's not your business.
Will you run away from Nigeria?
What I do is not your business. What I'm saying is your fantasy.
Well, let us remain in that fantasy.
All right.
I will send you text. I will send you text when the election comes and I say, see, it still remains your fantasy.
No, we are winning the
All right.
election.
Fred Nzeako, thank you so much for your time on the
Many
program.
thanks,
It's really
many
been an
thanks.
interesting one.
Many thanks.
Thank you very much.
Many
Thank
thanks.
you.